Welcome back to my channel. For those who've been here before, and to those who are new, welcome to you. I read the stories of misdiagnosis and gaslighting that others have been through, and share my own journey of misdiagnosis over the last 30 years. Today, we're undergoing a deep dive into a story that was both heartbreaking and captivating for the year 2023, and affected the lives and emotions of my fellow creators right here on YouTube. The life and death of Jessie Lee Ward. She was a major figure in the multi-level marketing world and was known by her hashtag of bosslee. But it was her battle with stage 4 colon cancer that played out right here on YouTube and in her own podcasts and content, which became for the anti-MLM community a critical perspective of her choices, but also an often intensely personal and supportive journey from those who were labeled haters. The events that unfolded are one woman's life and death, but they show so much about content creation, YouTube, the MLM movement, the tactics, misinformation. I'm going to explore her rise in the MLM pruvit, her diagnosis, the controversial treatment decisions she made, the reactions of the YouTube communities, and ultimately, hopefully, a few lessons we can learn from her tragic experience. Ward wasn't just another individual involved in multi-level marketing. She was a self-proclaimed and honestly, truly, a star within that complex and often controversial business model. As someone who achieved the top of the pyramid, in my own opinion, and who became a multimillionaire, Jessie Lee herself sometimes described herself as having an on-camera personality and the real woman within. Unfortunately, we'll never know exactly what occurred or went on in her own mind, but I hope that this video will allow us to look at what occurred over the time from her diagnosis to her death, what she may have dealt with, what others might deal with, and how we can make the world a little bit better place by looking at it again. Pruvit is a company that heavily promotes its ketone supplements, and Jessie Lee Ward cultivated an enormous online presence as a top-line seller, as her so-called bosslee personality, as a content creator herself, as a coach for other marketing sellers, and as someone who was undeniably captivating on camera. Her bosslee persona, which was energetic, assertive, and projected an image of constant success, attracted a massive following of individuals eager to replicate her perceived achievements in the challenging world of multi-level marketing. She frequently presented herself as the ultimate success story, often claiming to be the #1 network marketer, and her coaching programs were highly sought after by those seeking financial opportunities within this business model. However, for a significant segment of the online world, particularly the anti-MLM community right here on YouTube, Jessie Lee represented many of the problematic aspects of this business model. This community, which is comprised of mostly former MLM participants, some academic researchers like myself, and dedicated advocates such as Aaron Bees, Savannah, Cece Suarez, and Ask DC, worked tirelessly to educate the public about the potential financial pitfalls, the deceptive recruitment tactics, and the usually unrealistic income claims associated with MLMs. Like Jessie Lee, analyzing the income claims, the recruitment tactics, and the culture of relentless positivity that sometimes seemed and seems to overshadow reality itself The news that Jessie Lee Ward had been diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer in early 2023 sent shockwaves across the MLM and anti-MLM communities. While the exact date is unknown, Jessie Lee herself made the announcement in March 2023. Some personal accounts suggest she may have confided in close associates as early as February. This revelation was a significant moment, eliciting a wide spectrum of reactions from different corners of the multi-level marketing and the anti-MLM world. For her devoted followers, it was undoubtedly a time of deep concern and an outpouring of support for someone they admired and looked up to. Many expressed their sympathy, offered prayers, and shared messages of hope for her recovery. But within the anti-MLM community, the reaction was more complex and nuanced. While there was true empathy for the difficult, in fact, devastating situation Jessie Lee faced, there was also an immediate sense of apprehension and worry about how this journey would be framed and the potential for it to be used to promote certain narratives, especially concerning health and wellness within the context of multi-level marketing, and of course, how much would be connected to sales. Any press is good press. After her diagnosis, she was given a role as a vice president at Pruvit. It is my opinion that this position was created for her as a way to put her on the books as an employee. I have nothing but my gut instinct for that. However, it's interesting to me that when their so-called number one seller became ill with a life-threatening diagnosis, it was safer for her to be an employee of the business rather than to be one of its sellers. The structure of multi-level marketing relies heavily on recruitment and on the sales and on the money that is passed up the line, as it were, to those at the top of the pyramid, in my opinion. It is a well-known statistic that 99% of people who enter into multi-level marketing do not make a profit, make a very small amount of money, or in many cases lose a bunch of money. In the weeks immediately following her diagnosis, in late March and April 2023, Jessie Lee made a very public and ultimately controversial decision regarding her own treatment. The medical professionals she consulted, giving her established medical guidelines, recommended aggressive chemotherapy as the conventional and evidence-based approach to extend her life expectancy and managed this advanced stage of colon cancer. However, Jessie Lee announced that she would be rejecting this medical advice and was instead pursuing a holistic route to healing. As someone who has spent a lot of time in the misdiagnosis world, while I am not in the medical field, I have spent the last 20 years researching it, involving myself in it, and learning about the evidence-based processes that occur within it, as well as examining holistic, naturopathic, and other avenues. This word holistic has always frustrated me because it literally means whole. It means looking after the whole body and the whole mind. And while I do believe personally that Jessie Lee Ward was taking this aspect on from an attempt to look at her whole mind and body route to healing, I think that the word holistic can often come to mean a non-evidence-based route, and not one that is simply trying to integrate the physical and the mental and the day-to-day life of someone who's struggling with a diagnosis. She openly expressed her deep distrust of traditional medicine, perfectly within her rights, perfectly reasonable to do, and used quite strong and critical language towards the specific oncologists and the pharmaceutical industry, referring to them in extremely dismissive terms. I myself have an extremely fraught history, as this channel is testament to. However, weaponizing insults at doctors and pharmaceutical creators who are not paid to push any specific medicine and who are fighting the good fight to produce and distribute evidence-based information to their patients. It's a false dichotomy. It's a false dichotomy to think that there are only two sides to medical care in the standard Western model. Allopathic and naturopathic are not the two options. And looking at the entire system for, yes, its failures and its downfalls, but also the positive statistical effects and the individual caring that most practitioners bring, says that the world of cancer care is a much more gray and nuanced place. She began to document her chosen alternative therapies online directly herself, detailing her use of treatments like hyperbaric oxygen chambers, ozone therapy, magnetic treatments, red light therapy, coffee enemas, juicing, carnivore, then vegan, then back and forth diet. These decisions immediately raised serious concerns and set off alarm bells in the anti-MLM community. Witnessed thousands of hours of the promotion of unproven and often dangerous health claims within multi-level marketing circles, in my opinion. Advocates like Aaron B's now vocal anti-MLM content creator, as a previous colleague of Jessie Lee Ward's, and someone who I believe from her videos would have counted herself a friend at the time. Other creators like Cece Suarez, DC, and Savannah quickly stepped in, and they became the place for sharing factual information about colon cancer treatment, about the diagnosis and the statistics, about the emotional journey, and highlighting the robust scientific evidence that supports chemotherapy, standard medical treatment, and the truly significant lack of credible evidence for the alternative methods Jessie Lee was advocating. The particular cancer that she was diagnosed with was one that is unfortunately very well researched and has a lot of information that says what the likelihood of survivability is from specific treatments. There was concern that the alternative treatments that she was trying were not only not helpful in healing or improving the livability of her diagnosis and physical symptoms, but that they could in fact be harmful themselves and decrease her time and her healthiness while she was alive. I don't know how many times these creators and their live streams and their watchers shared a palpable worry that this information spreading across her large and very influential platforms could lead others within what is often a very insular, multi-level marketing world, where many participants are actually specifically separated from the information and evidence of their family, friends, and the outside world. There are uncountable videos that refer to Steve Hassan's BITE model of undue influence on others via behavior, information, thought, and emotional control. Often people say, what's the harm of people choosing the comfort and care that they prefer when they deal with a diagnosis? And the concern is that doing nothing has an impact too. Because the spread of this information doesn't just affect one person. The concern was that it could lead others to make similar choices, potentially delaying or foregoing their own life-saving medical interventions. As the months of May and June unfolded in 2023, Jessie Lee became an increasingly vocal and prominent proponent of the manifestation mindset as a key component of her personal healing journey. She frequently spoke about the power of positive thinking and the importance of her unwavering total belief in her ability to overcome cancer through a sheer force of her will and her chosen alternative therapies. She provided regular updates and insights, often extremely personal and perhaps a little odd, often sharing very personal videos and photos of her undergoing various alternative procedures, using different devices, and even doing live streams from the bathtub and during coffee enemas. The anti-MLM community around me actively engaged with this narrative, but with a critical and analytical eye. Creators like Savannah, whose own 3-part video recently posted, has been known for looking at the emotional impact of what Jessie Lee was promoting. I listened to these creators express deep and growing concern that her strong emphasis on mindset in the negative sense and the unproven therapies could potentially dissuade other individuals from seeking timely and effective medical care grounded in scientific evidence, that it would make other people around her more insular, that she herself would not break out of it, and that it would cause harm to her and others around her. The community made concerted efforts to counter what they perceived as dangerous and potentially harmful, directly harmful misinformation. I myself sat on many live streams emphasizing the crucial role of evidence-based medicine in treating serious illnesses, especially cancer. The number of discussions and debates that sprung up across all the online platforms, often specifically trying to reach Jessie Lee and her followers with factual information and urging them to consider the potential risks of rejecting conventional treatments in their own journeys. By the height of summer in July and August of 2023, a deeply concerning to me pattern began to emerge from observing Jessie Lee Ward's journey from the outside. Jessie Lee herself continued to share constantly optimistic updates and maintain a seemingly utterly positive online persona. Many who followed her story noticed the visible and undeniable decline that she herself was documenting in her physical health. Her weight loss became increasingly apparent in her photos and videos, and her overall appearance changed significantly, often looking gaunt, unwell, and at the end, even appearing jaundiced, yellow-skinned, and, in my opinion, in liver failure. In stark and troubling contrast to the visible signs of declining health, she often claimed to be feeling well, that she was getting stronger, and that she was in the best shape of her life. Her weight loss was something that she had been so proud of, and as Savannah so pointedly expressed in her live streams recently, the idea that as a culture we connect being in shape with the size of our waistline, when unexplained and significant weight loss is literally the first symptom to look for cancer, especially those involving the GI tract. This disconnect between her publicly stated condition and the visual reality that was increasingly evident to those watching online fueled a greater worry and, I think, in the end, a sense of urgency within the anti-MLM creator community. Cece Suarez, who is known for her sharp observations and her willingness to address uncomfortable and difficult truths, effectively documented these inconsistencies, literally juxtaposing Jessie Lee's optimistic claims with the visual evidence of her deteriorating physical state. Jessie Lee herself gave the evidence that belied the words she was saying. What was shared in so many live streams and videos was a deeply unsettled feeling that Jessie Lee's inner circle, her so-called friends and supporters, were perhaps not fully acknowledging the profound seriousness of her condition. Just as she was enabling her denial and reinforcing her decision to forego conventional medical treatment. In the 3-part series that Savannah just shared about the podcast with Jessie Lee Ward's personal assistant, Carissa. One marked moment that stands out to me is when Carissa shares that she herself, as someone who had only been hired a bare few weeks before, was the one to share the outcome and the seriousness of the surgery that took place that removed approximately 1 foot of colon tract, and the surgeon and medical team for that surgery pressing Carissa to share just how serious the nature of her diagnosis was, and that her prognosis would become increasingly shortened by her lack of action and her negative actions towards true healing. In stark contrast, the anti-MLM community, despite past criticisms of business practices and the model that she represented, they actually seemed to exhibit a genuine and profound concern for her well-being personally, recognizing the potential for a tragic and irreversible outcome if she did not seek appropriate and evidence-based medical care. I cannot say how many times I listened to those hoping, wishing that their message would get across to the supporters, the followers, and to Jessie Lee Ward herself. The month of September 2023 brought a rapid and heartbreaking decline in Jessie Lee Ward's health. Her last podcast episode, where she discussed her ongoing journey and her continued unwavering belief in the chosen path, aired around September 18th. It was only 3 days later, on September 21st, that the devastating news of her passing from cancer was officially announced to the public. Watching the anti-MLM community react to this news was another layer of complex emotions and an entire tapestry of confusion. There was undoubted sadness. There was a sense of loss for a life that had ended at only 34 years of age. But there was also a sense of tragic inevitability, a facing of what had actually happened exactly like conventional medical doctors had said. Her original diagnosis had been that she would not see Christmas, and she fell short of Christmas by several months, including falling short of her own 35th birthday. Erin Bees, who had followed Jessie Lee's journey and who counted herself as a previous friend, offered insightful and sometimes painfully emotional commentary along the way, but still managed to provide thoughtful and nuanced perspectives on her passing, reflecting on the broader implications of her choices and the pervasive influence of misinformation that is literally designed into the multi-level marketing business model. Many within the anti-MLM community shared a deep sense of loss, not just for Jessie Lee as an individual and as a human, but also for the opportunity that she might have had as a real vocal and social powerhouse, someone who caught the attention of thousands of people. What opportunity would there have been for her to speak out, speak up, and share her story if she had chosen a different path, guided by evidence-based medical science, perhaps mixed with alternative theories? Discussions within the online community often centered on the crucial lessons that could be learned from her experience, and the ongoing importance to this day of advocating for accurate and reliable healthcare information. My channel was created to support those who are going through misdiagnosis. It is also a tragedy to have the right diagnosis and the wrong information. In the months that have followed Jessie Lee's untimely death, after a period of quiet that I believe was in respect to the family and the emotional journeys of those of friends and watchers, the anti-MLM community has resumed analyzing her journey. I view it as a particularly stark and impactful case study in the potential dangers inherent in both the business practices of multi-level marketing the widespread dissemination of health misinformation, the disconnect between those who peddle for money, those who peddle for health, and those that are somewhere in the middle. The subsequent release of the podcasts that featured her assistant, Carissa, that Savannah has brought to the community, provided lots more but often conflicting insights into Jessie Lee's deeply held mindset, her unwavering belief right to the end that this was her chosen path to healing, and the specific events that transpired during her final months. The controversies that surrounded the actions and statements of her other close associates, Courtney and Avi, in the immediate aftermath of Jessie Lee's passing also became a significant and troubling topic of discussion within the anti-MLM community. I think it highlights the complex and troubling dynamics that existed within her personal and professional circles and within the circles of content creation right here on YouTube. Many within the anti-MLM community have drawn a distinct and poignant contrast between their own consistent expressions of concern for Jessie Lee's deteriorating health and the apparent lack of genuine and reality-based support and even assessment of her medical condition from some of those who showed themselves on social media as her closest friends, confidants, business partners, and relationships. There's a strong and widely held sentiment within the anti-MLM community that, despite often being unfairly labeled as haters for their criticisms of the business practices and the MLM model that she so prominently represented as the #1 multi-level marketer in the world, I believe they ultimately demonstrated a deeper and more authentic and altruistic level of care and concern for Jessie Lee's individual overall well-being by consistently urging her, based on the available medical information they had, towards conventional and evidence-based medical treatment. No one here or anywhere in the communities has suggested that the conventional treatment for stage 4 colon cancer is anything good. That facing a diagnosis that is not a question of if it will kill you, but simply when. That there is nothing wrong with the choice to live a wonderful few months versus a tortured couple of years. The choices that people make in palliative care at the end of their lives is very personal. However, the choices that they express and broadcast should be scrutinized, have to be scrutinized, so that they don't have a follow-on effect that has the same thought stopping and behavior stopping that are drilled into those who become part and parcel of the multi-level marketing world. I think her story continues to serve as a cautionary reminder, reinforcing my unwavering commitment to educating everyone about the potential harms of the multi-level marketing business model and the importance of relying on accurate and scientifically sound information in any decision in life, whether it's medical, monetary, or emotional, but especially when facing serious and life-threatening health challenges. The journey that Jessie Lee Ward went on is deeply complex, multifaceted, absolutely personal, but also public and, in the end, heartbreaking. Her story is significant and impactful because of the incredibly public way in which it unfolded, and in particular, the vocal anti-MLM movement playing a truly unique and overlooked role in observing, analyzing, and reacting, and supporting her experiences, but not necessarily her choices in real time. Their perspective, while critical of the business and the model she so strongly embodied, was always underpinned by a genuine and profound concern for her personal health, and I saw nothing but deep-seated worries about the pervasive spread of medical misinformation. As someone with experience in understanding the multifaceted complexities of health journeys and the intensely profound and personal impact of serious illness, it is abundantly clear to me every single day that navigating such challenging circumstances requires access to accurate information, timely and appropriate information, and a supportive personal network grounded in reality. To me, Jessie Lee's story serves as an unforgettable reminder to all of us to exercise caution and critical thinking when navigating health information online, to evaluate the credibility and reliability of all the sources we choose to trust, and to always prioritize the guidance of evidence-based practice. I am a vocal critic of the mistakes, misinformation, mishandling that conventional Western medicine takes. I myself have had more illness at the hands of standard medical care, but it does not make me one to turn away from evidence-based science. It makes me double down. It actually gives me the strength to continue fighting for proper diagnosis, proper treatments, proper information, and some way to cut through the misinformation and mistreatment of people. Quite the opposite of making me feel like I haven't made headroads. The anti-MLM community at the time and now shows me that there are young, talkative, wonderful content creators who spend time on live streams and scripted videos, deep dives, and long community chats to really dig into the personal and private experiences of their followers, their subscribers, of those who they might reach. My fellow Canadian creator, Julie Andrews, who often brings a comedic but extremely serious take on the impact that this kind of misinformation, that this business model perpetrates and perpetuates. There will be those that reply to videos about Jessie Lee Ward as continued haters and fakers. But the continued reflection on her journey, I think, underscores this vital mission to educate the public about the potential harms associated with multi-level marketing schemes and the importance of making informed and evidence-based decisions about our money, our wellness, our well-being, and our lives in general. Personally, I found Jessie Lee to be someone that personality-wise had been different of information that I could have spent many wonderful hours on podcasts being vocal, vivacious, and vociferous. I sometimes wonder if she is more missed. Those that wished they could have counted her a true friend by seeing her leave, by seeing her survive. I don't think that anyone is out there to make a buck on her name. Quite the opposite. The anti-MLM movement here on YouTube is bringing a voice to not making a buck on each other. Looking back at the editing of this video, I think what strikes me most is that this timeline encompasses only March to September. In the end, it was only 6 or 7 months, though I think it felt like an eternity to some of the people watching from afar. I hope that it didn't feel that way to those involved. And as someone who has been involved in palliative care, I also hope that Jessie Lee's final journey was a calm and comfortable one. No one deserves uncared for pain, either emotionally or physically. Unfortunately, it's the reality of most facing death within a hospital bed. As someone who knows the often horrible truth of how well medical systems don't attend to the needs of the people within it. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't strive for choosing evidence-based treatments while still taking care of people actually, holistically, truly connecting the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. This is not the same thing as saying that all Western medicine is good and that all alternative medicine is bad. It's about saying that striving to do better will help more people, and simply selling misinformation hasn't ever helped anyone. Thank you for taking the time to join me for this different but in-depth exploration of a specific topic today. In the comments, let me know if you interacted with any of Jessie Lee's journey in 2023 and with the perspective offered by the anti-MLM community. Or let me know what you think of misdiagnosis, misinformation, and mistreatment both by and against allopathic medicine. If you found this discussion valuable and informative, please consider giving this video a like and a subscribe. I'm not monetized. I'm doing this so that the community and the people around me can hear a summary of what I think occurred, in my opinion, over 2023, what I myself participated in as a viewer of anti-MLM community, and as someone who has been a vocal advocate against misdiagnosis, misinformation, and medical journeys. If you'd like to share your own personal story, please follow the link to my Google form where you can submit horror or happy stories around your own medical journeys. Until next time, with much love and some gentle hugs, I want you to seek your own truth, but also the evidence-based truth. My name is Maria, and I am Little Misdiagnosis.